Hi, I'm Gordon Wedderburn from GW Jazz, purveyors and supporters of good music, good jazz across all the spectrum. And I'm starting something new today, something that I should have started a good few months ago. Thought about it then, but now is the time, not before the time. So we're gonna start talk about music, where I simply sit here, vibe with you, and talk about some of my favorite music and why it's my favorite music. And it might not necessarily be about the music itself, but definitely the stories behind the music. And my first entry in terms of talk about music, and you're hearing it now in the background, and what spurred me to say, you know what, we do this now, is this record. Phenomenal record by a gentleman called Constantine. Fantastic 5-track EP, one of the tracks a spoken word, but an album that is just deep and rich, and the background behind it resonates with me a lot. So we have to talk about this music. The title of the EP is Services Rendered, or Service Rendered. Wonderful album cover. Reminds me of Jamaica. Strong green, yellow, just the colors of Jamaica. And you can't miss this. If you're digging for records, you'll see this from a mile out. It draws you to it, and for good reason. Strong colors. As a Jamaican, just the cover alone is me right here. But the album, the EP itself, also has a powerful backstory. And Yaya is a man that has gone and discovered and triumphed. And he has come back on his own terms, uncompromising, to bring us this gift, the blessing of his music, how he sees it, how he puts it out there. Didn't go through any big label. He set up his own label, set up his own vehicle, and pressed, using his own resources, pressed 250 copies. That alone tells you that this man is a serious man. This man, as we say in Jamaica, is not normal. Because he said, you know what? I'm putting out this music, this body of work, true to me. I do not want it diluted. I do not want it tampered with. So I will control all aspects of its production and distribution. And this is the result of it. Now, the album cover, this picture, this stunning picture at the front, a picture of contrasts. And you're looking at an alleyway in Fez, Morocco. And Fez has the oldest university in the world. This is where this man took this picture. That in itself is a statement. The alleyway, rubbish, it's dark, but here he stands, stepping forth, resplendent, regal, a king, black king. This wonderful, wonderful quote, as he told me himself, was given to him by his master. Now, this man, Yaya, left London, headed London, and went to Africa, went to West Africa to study Sufism for 10 years. So he took himself out of iniquity, went to West Africa, studied Sufism, came back the man he is today, came back a king, came back uncompromising, making music that he wants to make on his terms. Again, it's being played in the background as I speak, so you get a sense of the sound, the vibe, the feel, the flow of the music and the man making the music. Right now you're listening to Dried Tears. And when I listened to the album first run, just hearing the first strains of his voice coming over soulfully, hauntingly, deeply, a resonance was right there. And listening to it, we spoke about the cover reminding me of Jamaica. It is supposed to be that reflection of his roots and his culture. And you'll hear the inflections in his vocals, in the language, when you're listening to this record. What I will tell you is that if you don't have this record, I don't know how you're gonna get it. 250 copies pressed, and they're all gone. And they're not being sold on Discogs. I certainly am not selling mine, because this resonates with me so much. Just that uncompromising way, the sound, he's not trying to sound like anybody. He is himself, Yaya Constantine Weir, and he's bringing his message through his music, bringing this wonderful, wonderful vibe. Coming up, actually, again, if you're listening in the background, one of my favorite tracks on the album, Father. And when a king pays homage to his father, it's a serious thing. The man that has helped molded him to who he is now. And the track also is a sort of coming of age. A coming of age. Really wonderful track. The vibe. Playing in the background, even then, it has stopped me a bit just to listen to it for a couple of seconds. Because of the power in the music, the power in the vocals coming through, the emotions in the vocals coming through. It's a wonderful thing. And again, we go back to Yaya's story. Yaya was in a very prominent band in the 90s, I think, called Galliano. And I didn't even know that. I did not even know that he was in Galliano. It is when this record came to the fore and I started digging, I realized that he was a part of Galliano. But even then, listening to Galliano's work, he had already transcended Galliano. Man, they're on a different level already. And with that, I think it was more of an urgency for him to relocate to Africa for 10 years. And a lot of us say, you know, we want to go to Africa, we want to repatriate back to Africa, we wanted this, we wanted that. But this man actually did it. This man went home. He went home, he learned, he studied, he grew, and he became more of himself. Because sometimes it's not about discovering or finding yourself. It is going there and developing the realization that you have been this person all along. You've now come into your own. And the music is reflected. The music sends that message. Again, he's come back after 10 years, a 10-year sojourn. Sat at the feet of his master. Again, his master gave him this wonderful, really wonderful quote. Very, very intricate, loving the colors. And he's stepping out into it. Stepping through adversity. The alleyway can be many things. A dark, dingy, littered alleyway with the man himself stepping through that, stepping through all that it represents, stepping into the light, stepping into himself, stepping into Yaya. And with that growth comes the musical growth, comes the musical realization that was there all along, even in other groups. I bought a record of his and didn't even realize that it was him. So when I started digging now, after seeing this record and hearing snippets, because I couldn't hear the record fully until I bought it. It's not on digital. You can hear a minute of snippet, but doesn't do justice. So when I started digging, I realized that I had one of his records, and it was a record that gravitated to me because of the name, Silently Bad-Minded. And I remember seeing it for the first time, actually in Brixton, Pure Vinyl Records, big up to Claudia every time. Saw that record, Silently Bad-Minded, and the first thing that came to me had to be a Jamaican who did this. Nobody else. Had to be only a Jamaican would come up with a song title called Silently Bad-Minded. And he told me about how Silently Bad-Minded came about. Actually, I'm going to tell you. He was in Jamaica. He was in Jamaica with his uncle. And his uncle challenged him, because he knew he was a creative, challenged him to write a poem. And Yaya took it further. And Yaya said, you know what? I'm going to do you one better. I'm going to write a song. And at the time, there was this talk of a bad-minded energy permeating Jamaica. It's still there. And, you know, he just added the silently to it, because it is permeating and it's a deeply seated thing. And Silently Bad-Minded came about. Came back to London, and the rest is history. But I had this record for a while now, and then made a connection. So I am looking at this, thinking about Silently Bad-Minded, and seeing that trajectory, but similarity nonetheless. The themes, the energy, the vibe. Again, this man is Jamaican through and through. And it comes out in this body of work. Again, we heard Dried Tears on Father. On the other side of this record is a wonderful spoken word track called Siwia. And Jamaicans would understand that. Siwia. And we this. Siwia. We're here. We're there. Excellent, excellent bit of spoken word. Contradictions. Again, every track on this album is a vibe. And again, I don't know how you're going to hear it. I might have to do a listening session at some point where we just sit and listen to it. But you're not going to see digital copies of this that you can listen completely. It's 250 copies of vinyl. They're all gone. And I think people will be holding on to them because this is an instant classic. This, for me, would be the first record after his emergence, coming back into London, being who he is now after 10 years. Again, putting out this body of work that is in itself uncompromising, unique sonics. When you listen to this record, you have to be present and you have to be focused, because a vibe, and that is what music should be, a vibe, put you in a certain state of mind. And while there's a lovely soul presence coming from Yaya, behind it there's a sort of gurgling militancy that you feel. You hear the soul, you hear the raspiness of the voice, you hear the deepness, but you feel that militancy. And you know that this man don't come to play. This man comes, he brings his message, again on his own terms. He has controlled all aspects of the production and distribution, all aspects of the creativity, so you can't water down the creativity. He has given you, he has presented to you, he has shared with you himself as raw as ever. One of the rawest records I've ever really listened to. Pays homage to his mother, pays homage to his father, speaks about a relationship that has run its course. And there is no animosity. It is what it is. The relationship has run its course. There's still care for each other. There's still love. But it is what it is. And then there's that powerful spoken word, Siwia. And as I said, when I heard Siwia, I just say, we're there. And I won't say too much more on it. But if you can get this record, get this record. Because the record is more for the story behind it. For the evolution of this musician, of Yaya Constantine Weir. And the evolution actually began with his original band Galliano. And I think I was speaking to somebody about why. I don't know if I did ask him actually. I don't know if I did ask Yaya, why did he not go back to Galliano? But then that becomes a rhetorical question, because you've moved on from that. You've elevated. You're in a different mind space. Your message is different. And the message is unique. And this is what this represents. Service rendered. And even the title, in my mind, speaks to the journey, speaks to him going to Africa, speaks to him devoting himself to Sufism. And that is something that he and I will talk about. You know, devoting himself to Sufism, submitting himself for a higher cause. That story, that context from which this has emerged is a serious thing. So I'm going to close Service Rendered, Yahya Constantine. We're 5 tracks on the album. He's released it on his Heights label, his own Heights label. So look out for that label. He has more coming, and I'm awaiting it eagerly. But right now, we're done. We're done talking about music. Until next time, take care. I'm Gordon Wedderburn from GW Jazz.